Your friend Kiloh here, and we had the house like really cleaned up yesterday, inside and outside. Had the boys from Crossroads over, man, and had two of them, one in and one out. So I'm able. My wife says I'm able to show the house. So I just wanted to, and I figured out how to put the videos together too. So the problem of this thing shooting another video solved. So I'm going to go over a little bit of my collection, which I haven't done in a while. That's a Pink Floyd first run of shows at for Bill Graham in San Francisco, a postcard promoting the gig. That's with Syd Barrett. And here, that's a collection of tickets for all the Bill Graham produced shows. Pink Floyd with Syd Barrett shows. I got all the tickets and put them together. That's a Grateful Dead Indoors postcard. That's one of my first pieces I ever bought. It wasn't expensive, and it had, you know, the Dead on it, and so yeah, I framed it up. That's a Velvet Underground. It's a little rough. It's a little crinkled in spots, but it's a Velvet Underground Tim Buckley poster from the Avalon. Back when the Avalon wasn't really doing that great towards the end, and the posters were like, nah, you know, not designed the greatest. But that's a Vulcan Gas Company handbill for Shiva's Headband and Lost and Found. The Lost and Found. They were the first Texas band to be busted for LSD. But when they were busted, the LSD was still illegal. And so they had to drop all the charges and let them go, but they didn't give the LSD back. I don't know what they did with it. That's if you know my buddy George and his amazing album Power Plant, Golden Dawn Power Plant. They, in 1968, somebody took the image and blew it up into like a big blacklight poster. So I had to have one of those. It's not really a concert poster, but I saw that. And George didn't even know they had ever been produced, but he signed it for me and I got it framed. That's a Velvet Underground at the Retinal Circus. That was a club in, Washington State, okay? That advertised with not handbills, but postcards. And that's a double postcard. And about 20 years ago, the Retinal Circus stash, okay, went up on eBay, and cards were cheap, like less than $5, some of them. And I bought a bunch, okay, you know, right? I have them, and I have a couple of these too, but it's Velvet Underground. That's a double postcard, and on the other side is the mailing, you know, place stamp here. Okay, that's an enlargement by the artist, okay, Victor Moscoso, of the a finger. It's known as concert poster. When Chet wanted to get back into the concert promoting business, he started doing it at the Maritime Hall, like in the later 70s in San Francisco. And he had his poster artist buddies blow up, enlarge a bunch of that's not ink, but it's like acrylic on canvas, okay, an enlargement. And he blew a bunch of these up and decorated the inside of the Maritime Hall. Well, my buddy Jack Wortman was driving by one day and Chet was loading a bunch of stuff in a van, and these were one of them. And Maritime Hall was going out of business, and Jack bought this from Chet, and he has the Spaceman one enlarged too. Yeah, he sold me this one, but kept the other one. So one of a kind, signed by the artist. Yeah, an enlargement. It's big. It's like 4 feet by 2 feet. It's in like a wooden frame painted with like, it looks like a spray paint. The frame is hammered together wood. I have no idea of a value. Mississippi Fred McDowell Vulcan Gas Company poster, back when they were just, not poster, handbill, back when they were just doing handbills. Posters were expensive and they weren't making a lot of money, so they just decided to go ahead with the handbills. Pink Floyd's first piece of marketing material after they signed with EMI. And it's not a reprint, it's freaking old and faded, man. I got that, a guy gave that to me, okay, because he knew I loved Syd Barrett. He said he bought it at a record convention in like the early 80s. Yeah. Okay, we got one of the walls in the house here, see? One of the walls. Now, this is one of the big Vulcans. I don't know why she does this, but she likes to put this in front of my poster. This is one of the big Vulcans. 13th floor elevators and Shiva's headband. November 3rd and 4th, 1967. That's my birthday, November 3rd. And it's signed by Spencer Pershkin, Ed Gwynn of Conqueror, and the 3 of the 13th floor elevators, Danny Thomas, John Ike, and Ronnie Leatherman. I got all my friends to sign it. I put a little plaque there. So we got that Vulcan. That's a very well-known Vulcan. And then a mint handbill. Okay, a mint handbill. And a mint negative variant handbill. So the poster and then 2 handbills. Pretty sick. Piper at the Gates of Dawn from my friend Vic Sings, the photographer. His negative, direct from the negative. That's a guichet print, signed by the artist. Yeah, sweet. Grateful Dead, last with Jerry Garcia. He died. Yeah, he died. This is a 1995 tour poster. He passed away. So they liquidated these out of the back of Rolling Stone magazine, and I bought one. This was really the start of the Kiloh collection, you know? I could see that it was like a quality item, and you know, I framed it up. All right, that's a Rolling Stones Cow Palace. It's a collectible poster. They printed these to be sold at the venue, okay, not to promote the gig, but to be sold as like a souvenir for the fans. And this is 4 of the major poster artists, okay, were hired to do the poster. And this is a proof. So it's like one of the first posters they printed. And then they would look at it for defects. They would check the proof for defects. And if it was okay, go ahead with the run. If not, go back and fix stuff. But it's signed by, see, all 4 of the poster artists in very light, tasteful white pen. Love, Forever Changes concerts, 2003. Arthur Lee came back kicking ass, man. That's a Zombies. That was here in Phoenix in 2004. They sounded great. They sounded exactly like, they did. They sounded exactly, it was everybody in the Zombies except for the drummer. And they had the Kinks drummer filling in. And then Colin and Rod signed it for me, you see, in black at the bottom. Yep. And this is a Texas Psych Fest poster from 2002. When I started the group in like 1998, people like my friend Eric Arn started saying, oh my God, there's an interest in this stuff, It's not just me. And so he put together this Texas Psych Fest and got the Golden Dawn to reunite, okay? So of course I flew out there, August 3rd and 4th, my birthday, 2002. 2002, yeah. Of course I flew out there. That's where I met George and all the guys in the band. And they signed this for me, brought it back and framed it. That's a Vulcan handbill. It's called Harry Pumpkin, and it's the Children. They were like a killer band, man. They put out a great album, and then drug addiction and band politics and whatever, they just faded away. That one album, it's a classic. And a Fugs, Vulcan handbill, Jim Franklin. Vulcan handbill. It's called Floating It Between Two Pieces of Glass. They put like little plastic things, lifts on the corners, and then mount it, and then float it between two pieces of glass. This is my 13th floor elevator's wall. I mean, you see all that? Posters, and handbills. You recognize all this stuff, right? I've even got the Electric Grandmother City Coliseum one up there, Ram's Head. And look at this one. You all recognize it. The Spaceman. Look, signed by a lot of people, man, okay? My friends, the Elevators. Signed by a lot of people. Many of them have, well, some of them have passed on since. And that's mounted, it's a white matting with yellow, with the orange core. Then let's call it a blue-green matting, and then an orange frame. It's a stunning piece. And the signatures, I mean, first printing with all the signatures, pretty sweet. Then that's a You're Gonna Miss Me cash box page, signed by a lot of people, okay? Paul St. John, Tommy, Rocky, John Ike. See? Danny Thomas. Yeah, Rocky signed it too, in pencil somewhere. Yeah. And then we have in this vaulted ceiling more. So I've had this poster a while. It's in mint, dead mint condition. mantra rock dance. Krishna consciousness comes west. The guru came out and was putting on a talk and promotion of his new temple. And got, look, the dead, Don't Be Great, Big Brother to all play a free, Allen Ginsberg to all play a free gig. I just framed that, I just pulled that out and framed it. There's a big Vulcan, Shiva's. You can turn that any way too, and it'll display. I like it this way because the heads are down, it looks most normal. Another big Vulcan. It's a little worse for the wear. A couple of the corners are a little so they're covered. A Shiva's headband, Conqueror, Vulcan. That's when the Moving Sidewalks reunited and played B.B. King's in New York. Ann and I flew out there, saw him. And that's signed by the poster artist. That's one of them. All right, here's a trophy piece right here. Trophy piece. 13th floor elevators, poster, and unripped ticket, okay? This thing looks like it just came off the printing press, okay? Dead mint, okay? It says pot in the center of it's a brain, you see? It says pot in the center of the brain. One of these, you wonder how much these are worth. I mean, one of these, like about a year ago, not in this condition. You don't see these in this condition, okay? But, you know, like very good plus, you know? Went for $8,000 at auction, okay? So this is a dead mint one with an unripped ticket. And then that's another Vulcan, a woman holding a crystal ball, really beautiful. That's another favorite of mine. And that's Shiva's and Conqueror, I think. Yeah, Conqueror, Shiva's headband. Here's another. Just a big mass of color, you know. It's hard to see anything on that one, really. Just Shiva's, Angela Lewis, Bubble Puppy. That was one of the last, I think one of the last big ones. Vulcan, Muddy Waters. The Vulcan was on hard times by this time, and they were experimenting with, how can we do this cheaper, you know? So that's done on newsprint in black and white, art by Jim Franklin. That's in mint condition, mint. I have no idea of a value. A lot. Here's another one. Equinox of the Gods, Magic Powerhouse of Oz, Kenneth Anger. So this is a big straight theater poster, and it was Kenneth Anger was finishing up his film Lucifer Rising, and was showing like some, I guess they call it rushes of it, some reels. Not the finished film, because here's what we've done so far, and this is what the vision, you know, might look like. And Magic Powerhouse of Oz and these other bands were playing, you know, along with it. And this had Bobby Beausoleil, okay, as you've heard of him, right? The Manson guy. And he, in fact, met a little guy named Charlie Manson at this gig and went back to his ranch and started hanging out with them. And, yep, went on to other things after that. See, look, 666. I like that. It looks like Looks like Egypt, you know, like pyramids, you know. That's a Chambers Brothers production sheet. So they would print, to save money, they would print everything on one page and then cut it up. So that's a poster, 2 tickets, and 6 postcards to promote the gig. That's a press kit cover for the Aliens. They would like bind a bunch of like Xerox like newspaper articles together and bind it. I've seen the press kits with this cover, and then hand it out, you know, to interested parties. But I like the Gremlins have pictures, you know, cover, signed by Rocky. That's a Shiva's Vulcan, Shiva's headband Vulcan handbell. And then Rocky, Bloody Hammer, okay, Bloody Hammer, signed by Rocky at the Continental Club. There's the crazy doctor, and his shadow is the devil, okay? And a casket. It's very, very terrifying, okay? Poster for Rocky and the Explosives, probably from the 80s. Here's another big Vulcan. I step back a ways. It's my friend George and his band, the Golden Dawn, okay? Played at the Vulcan. The art is by Gilbert Shelton. He's the guy that did the Freak Brothers. You know, the Freak Brothers cartoons. Before that, he was a college student and helping do these posters for the Vulcan. Yeah. Blow your mind. See, their minds are getting blown. You see that? Elevators, 13th floor elevators. That's printed on newsprint, okay? This had some issues. I went and had it restored, okay? And it looks, you know, fantastic now. This was not even with Rocky, but Stacy and Danny, you know, calling themselves the Elevators. And the plan was to keep playing, keep the name alive until Rocky got out of the mental hospital. He could rejoin the band. Of course, he never did. Yep, that's a trophy piece of the collection. Trophy piece. This is one of the first armadillos. It's called Floating Armadillo. And it's a view from a planet. See, you're on the surface of a planet. And the armadillo is like another planet out in space, like you're looking at the moon or something. Pretty cool. Mother Earth. Mother Earth. That was Powell St. John. He had left the band by then, but it was Mother Earth. And then Shivas. Zappa poster and 2 handbills from the Armadillo. This is when they recorded Bongo Fury, okay? This is the first Armadillo poster, 1970. Right after the Vulcan. So the Vulcan had closed months before, and then they opened this, and that was the first poster. And then Velvet Underground card, Moby Grape Vulcan handbill. That's a Doors post, not Doors, a Grateful Dead postcard. That's Jerry Lightfoot and Band of Wonder. And Jerry was carrying these around with him when I met him. And taking, you know, it's mint, okay? He's like carrying it with him, you know? So he really took care of it. But it's Band of Wonder. And it really was, Jerry was like kind of like a Houston Stevie Ray Vaughan, at this time blues, you know, guy could wail out on the guitar. And it was a Band of Wonder. It was Jerry and Vince Welnick of the Grateful Dead and some real, you know, Texas Texas, like known for jamming musicians. And then Carol in Wonderland, okay? And then George Kinney was warming up. Jerry worshipped George, okay? And was his friend and was always trying to get him to come back into music. And so Jerry signed it for me. I think George signed it for me. I brought it to Texas and George signed it for me. And then recently I went to a Carol in Wonderland gig and she signed it for me. She couldn't believe it. She was like, oh my God, man, I can't believe this. This is like 40 years ago. And was like, she was almost in tears. 3 signatures. And then Vulcan, it's called White Girl. Wonder why. Vulcan handbill. Lenny Bruce postcard. Lenny Bruce and the Mothers, okay? At one of the early Bill Graham. And then, as a thank you for when I opened the group, like right after I opened the group, this guy, like drew that for me. That's Rocky. And that's all like song names and psychedelia. He sent that to me. It's really amazing. And I framed that. That's a really outstanding piece of art. Yeah. Captain Beefheart poster. That's worse. that's worse something. 1972. And I bought the frame in Goodwill. It's like a orange, hideous wooden frame that somebody painted orange. But look at the poster. I saw that. I'm like, oh my God. It goes together so well. All right, this is Jim Quiskin Blues Band. And check this out. That's like Avalon, and that other one's like Family Dog in Denver, okay, right? And see the writing, you can't hardly read it. It's total psychedelia. It's in the flames in the bottom. But it was too good an image, so they just reversed it and used it over. And if you put the two together, it makes one image, which is very cool, and that's what I did. See? Very famous 1984 13th floor elevators reunion, signed by Rocky. Thin paper poster. Yep. That's a, see, Vulcan handbill. See, these are other Vulcan handbills. One of these is Steve Miller, I think. Mance Lipscomb and Shivas. And then here, it's not a poster, but I had this. It's I sent it to Tommy Hall to sign. It's a mono psychedelic sounds. And he signed it on the back. Oh my God. Yeah, but I was told by somebody, yeah, they signed it on the back. They don't want to mess up the front. So then I had everybody, all my friends from the elevators, sign it on the back. And then I had a picture disc I threw in there, and then that's an IA, International Artist stereo copy. So it's front, picture disc I threw in, back cover signed by all except for Stacy, who can't sign because he's deceased. Then here, there's that handle, see? There's the poster over there. There's the poster over there. That's the handbill. Rocky and the Aliens poster and 3 handbills. Muddy Waters poster from the Fillmore. That's called Snotbox, and that was end of Cole Avenue. And it's the Vulcan people trying to open another club in Dallas. It's called Downtown Tubes. That's Steve Miller. Vulcan Handbill. Johnny Winter, Vulcan Handbill. That's like the same time as Progressive Blues Experiment. Old. Shiva's headband poster, and then a handbill. See? They were the first band busted for LSD in Texas. They were sick too, man. They made some 45s that are just hellacious, okay? And then they made an album which is great, but a little tamer, okay, than the 45s. See, Lost and Found. Then they broke up. They thought it would be a good idea to break up after they were busted and got off. And then that's a Country Joe and the Fish. See the first, it's the wrong date, October 20th. They had to do it over. There's the right date. They're both considered originals. One is with the wrong date, one is with the right date. This is Pink Floyd, CIA, UFO. Back when they were playing bars in England, okay, with Syd Barrett. And this is the UFO. They got into doing posters, like they were inspired by what was going on in California. And there was the original, which was to produce the gig, and it was cruder, the same design, but cruder, and yeah, very rare, okay? Very rare. And then they licensed the plates, okay, to this production company, TSR. And they cleaned it up a little. It did more professional for sale in head shops at 67. This is still considered an original, okay? But this was right after the gig for sale in head shops. But it's printed in 67, and when people talk about they have a first printing, they usually mean this. But it's really a second printing. The first printing was, you know, the one that the artist did, and they're cruder. Okay, my Zappa from the Vulcan, Jim Franklin art. That's a $6 frame from Goodwill. Looks nice. Muddy at Antone's, signed by Muddy. See? Rocky at Liberty Lunch. Signed by the artist. Vulcan Handbill. Evil Hook Wildlife Handbill. Pre-Vulcan Handbill. Conqueror, Rachel's Children. That was before the Vulcan. At the, I think it was Doris Miller Auditorium. Golden Dawn Handbill for the, another Golden Dawn Handbill. Golden Dawn, no, that's a Vulcan poster. I mean, Vulcan Handbill. I'm getting tired, sorry. Vulcan Handbill. Golden Dawn, Vulcan Handbill. All right, this is a pre-Vulcan handbill. So Conqueror, Rachel's Children. See it, the Doris Miller. And they actually did like okay promoting these. So they decided to open a club, and that was the Vulcan. Then there's an armadillo, signed by somebody. armadillo. And then poster and three cards. Pink Floyd, they went back, threw Syd Barrett out of the band, came back. The Fillmore wouldn't hire him because of what happened when they were here, when Syd was here. But the Avalon hired him, and this was like Saucer Full of Secrets, you know, Doctor Strange era. Vulcan poster, see how big it is? It displays anyway, you can put it on its side, you know, I like it that way because the lettering is there. Jim Franklin art. Okay. Grateful Dead, Blood, Sweat, and Tears postcard. All right, original art for Stacy Sutherland, the original guitar player for the Elevators, for his birthday, like about, you know, a while ago, 2012. Original art, and then signed by, you know, people, right? Ronnie, George Kinney, John Ike, other Danny Thomas. They carry on. The artist did this, and then the Ruta Maya went out of business suddenly, so there was no gig to promote. So he sold me the art, and that's a Goodwill poster. Yeah, original art. All right, here's another big Vulcan. In case you haven't figured it out yet, I kind of collect the big Vulcans. Yeah, Lord August. That was not Doug Somm, but Augie Myers, his band from Sir Doug. And then here's that Moving Sidewalks. It's kind of dark, you know, but it's cool looking. Moving Sidewalks. It's signed by the band. They signed it in black ink, which is unfortunate. Then also signed by the artist. But you can't really see their signatures on it too well, but it's signed. That's when we flew to New York and saw the gig, where you can see the whole gig on YouTube. And then Zappa, Freak Out, Freak In, Freak Out, Freak In, Freak Out, Freak In, and the mothers aren't even the headliners. Little Gary Ferguson is, whoever he was. But those are handbills. Two more. Those are big Joe Williams Vulcan handbills. Those are Goodwill frames. I got them for $1. Big Joe Williams handbills. Then I can kind of show you in here. This is one of the guests. This is the guest room. It's kind of that we got it cleaned up, so I can kind of come in here. 4 Creedence handbills. It's a test, like a proof, and the guy used like nasty purple ink because that's what he had. But those are the 4 uncut handbills, a test in purple ink for Creedence. And then Rocky and the Aliens, 4 different colored handbills of them at the Long Branch. Yeah, I know people that were at this gig. Rocky, they were like inventing like punk metal, you know, before there was such a thing. Rocky screaming his fool head off about demons and ghosties and Satan. And George, somebody gave that to me. George, signed by George and Spencer, from Golden Dawn and Shiva's Headband. Then here another Rocky. That's a vintage Rocky. Rocky and the Explosives at the Whiskey A Go Go. And then Lucifer Rising poster. I got to keep that in here with Anne. Wouldn't like it, you know. Lucifer Rising. But that's, do you remember the poster I showed you with the Egyptian, you know, right? Pyramids and stuff. Charlie Manson, Bobby Beausoleil. This was the poster that they produced for sale in head shops afterwards. So it's a commemorative poster. Okay. My dad used to work for Harry Truman. And that's when the Truman Library was opened. And it says to Robert Smith, Harry Truman, and the artist Thomas Hart Benton signed it. It's been in the family like a long time. Rocky and the Explosives, The Stone, Gorgo. And then I'll go in here real quick. This will be like everything that's framed. There's something in the other, there's a Vulcan, not a Vulcan, there's a